back of the pack ultra guy here. This week is going to be awesome. I've got Sandra Mikulic on. I have followed Sandra on her Instagram, and I just love her videos. I just see people in their natural habitat, so to speak, posting what they want to post, and her videos just kind of spoke to me, and I just loved everything about what she was doing. And I just reached out to her, and she's been so kind to jump on. So Sandra, without further ado, I'll turn it over to you. Would you mind just letting us know, where you grew up and kind of how you found your way into running?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Christian, for having me on the podcast and asking me to be a guest. I really appreciate it, and any chance I have to talk about running, I take it. So honestly, in high school, I was not a runner. I was like a track and field, maybe shot put, basketball, volleyball. And the few times that I thought that I was a cross country runner, I nearly died on the track. Like, it was just awful. And I just thought, like, how could anybody do this? And even at that time, when I was in, grade 10 and grade 9, I wasn't a small girl. Like, I was, I don't know, maybe 185, 190 pounds. And, I just stood out even at that time. So the chances of me starting to run later in life, I would have said at that time, are 0 to none. But the universe had other ideas. So fast forward to the age of, like, in my 40s, and after I had my fourth child at 32, and off and on I would work out, and it would be like this kind of form of punishment. Okay, I got to go to the gym. I got to lose this baby weight. And so it was a mix of, trying to go to the gym. And then I realized, with 4 kids at home, and my husband used to work away, he would be gone 2 weeks at a time and home for a week. I realized I cannot go to the gym. So I started to build a collection of workout equipment at home and, doing YouTube videos and whatnot. And then in 2017, I bought a treadmill because I thought, oh, this is going to be a great way to warm up for the YouTube videos. And before the treadmill, I had one of those Nordic track skiing machines, which just made so much noise. And with 3 boys and 1 girl, that was a dangerous thing to have in the house. So got rid of that, found a treadmill, and I just started spending so much time on this treadmill. It was like a cheat code almost to exercise. Like, I would just walk on it. I would, then gradually I increased the speed, and then I was watching stuff on there on the tablet. So I was like, oh, this is so easy. This is great. But in 2017, I also started my first Instagram account, and only Instagram account. And as I started, creating my feed and what I was interested in, the Instagram algorithm would throw all these things at me. And I started seeing, like, videos of women running, and I liked it. So, lo and behold, fast forward 6 months, my Instagram feed was full of runners. And that is where the cult behavior started to form.
The cult behavior. I love it.
Yeah, literally. And so when I bought that treadmill, I think it was September, October of 2017. By March of 2018, and I had just turned 43, I went outside for my first run ever since I was in grade, like, 10.
Wow.
Because I had spent like 6 months on that treadmill just indoors because, small kids, whatever. The youngest at that time was like 6. So I went outside for that first run, and I went on this, like, creek near my house, this path, and I went out for 3.5 kilometers, came back. It was a 7-kilometer run, so about 4 miles. And I swear to you, I thought I was Superwoman. I came back and I was like, oh,
Awesome.
God, this is the best thing ever. And that first dopamine, that high, it was just, it just changed everything that day. And I call that my runniversary. and it's March 18th. And it was 2 days after my.
That's awesome. So you actually have the day.
I
Oh,
sure
that's so
do.
cool. Good for you.
Yeah. So this year, March 18th, was 8 years that I have been running. And because of that day, and then I came back and I, continued on with life, kept doing the treadmill, and I saw that there was a company in town similar to, um, what's that big trail company or big camping company in the US?
REI?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a company in Canada called MEC or MEC, Mountain Equipment Co-op, and they put on this race series that you could sign up for $75. You get 4 local races. Bam, done. Signed up. And in that conglomeration of races, there was 2 10Ks and 2 half marathons, all trail races. I signed up. My first 10K trail race. I had out of body experiences.
Wow.
Just I literally had out of body experiences I cannot explain to you. So this first 10K trail race was a loop course. So I did the first 5K, looped, and then I saw some people kind of walking off the trail path, right, and going to the finish line. And I thought I could stop right here. I really could stop, and Bob's your uncle. I'd be fine. I did a 5K because I had to repeat that loop again, and there was like a lot of elevation. And I went back into the forest, did the second 5K, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is my body. I just did a second loop of that 5K, and I was hooked. And in that 2018, I had done a marathon in November, and I had done 4 half marathons in that first 2018, and a bunch of 10Ks. So that was it. That was the start of that addictive behavior, the cult. Buying the hydration pack and getting the proper runners and all of that stuff. It just all came with it, and that was it.
How awesome is it? I'd be so interested because I have never enjoyed the treadmill. Admittedly, I've never had to use it out of necessity, but I've just never enjoyed the treadmill. I'd love to hear your perspective of you spent the 6 months inside on the treadmill, and it sounds like you had just an amazing first run experience, the runniversary. What was part of that excitement and dopamine being outside, or I'd love to hear about that. How did it feel going from the treadmill to being outside? It sounds silly, but being outside is, for me, is such a huge piece of this whole equation, right? Running and being outside. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm so surprised when people say they don't like the treadmill. I can't understand that, because to me, I feel like a treadmill is almost like it's almost like a cheat code. That's how I feel about it, because I feel like I can get so much done on it. Not to mention all of the Netflix series that I can watch, and I don't focus on so when I'm on the treadmill, I don't focus on how it makes me feel in the sense of doing any work. So even when I'm on the treadmill, I can go through my phone and delete like old photos so that I have more storage. If I have like a course to do, I can watch a course. I just feel like a treadmill is such a brilliant tool, and I guess that's how I look at it. And of course, if you are on a treadmill and you're not doing anything else, yeah, that is some major punishment. But if you like combine it with something that you have to do, it's a 2-for-1.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never done that, and that's just my ignorance. I've never been like. But it's funny you say that, because when I was younger, my uncle used to read. I mean, he wasn't running sprinting, but he was reading while he was on the treadmill. I've never put that together, but he was probably of the same philosophy that you are, where it was like, I could just read and walk fast on this treadmill. and get all this done at once and not have to split it up.
I have read on the treadmill. I have read books on the treadmill. And the other thing that people don't, they equate running with, oh, you have to run fast. You have to make your last run faster than the one before. That's not the case.
Mm-mm.
And especially if you're in trail running, it's time on feet. So to me, if I'm walking on my treadmill at an incline 3 and I've got a book in my hands, I'm spending time on my feet, or incline 4 or incline 5. Like, I am doing two things at once, and I just find that so beneficial versus like monotonously like looking up into the ceiling while you're on the treadmill. So definitely, hands down, like I've done 2 marathons on a treadmill,
Wow.
and I'll never regret it. Like, I just, last year I couldn't go to Seattle for my marathon because I like to run the Seattle Marathon every year. I've done it for 8 years. And last year my mom had an operation, so I couldn't go. And then the weather here in Kelowna is quite bad. So I thought, oh, I'll just do it on the treadmill. And I did. And it was awesome.
See that I love the fact that you find so much joy with that, because you could line up a bunch of other people that say, oh, I've never had a good experience on the treadmill, but it's so cool to hear that you look forward to it. It's something that you look forward to doing. It's a part of your the whole running cult, right? It's a part of that exercise, and like you said, it's a tool, but you've combined it with so many other things that you're, like you said, you're getting so much done. Whereas, like, I'm sure you still enjoy going on the trails or outside and running, but whereas like I just go out and get a run done on the trail, like you're already like 3 steps ahead of me. You've read the book, you've done the course, you've done the homework, and I just did my one thing. So I think that's really cool. So I've heard people call it the treadmill, but obviously for you, it's the opposite. It's not that at all. That's pretty cool.
And also, I just think, like, for me to go outside, I actually have to get a lot of things ready, um, especially as a woman. I have to make sure certain things are ready. And, I have to have Kleenex in my pocket. I have to have my flask. I have to have, just a lot of things have to line up in order for me to go outside and do that run on the trails. Whereas I just find the treadmill so much easier because I'm at home. I have access to bathroom. I have access to all kinds of hydration. If I feel like something else, or if I, get hungry, I want chips, especially if I'm doing a longer run. It's just so much easier that, one day I hope to be able to buy that treadmill that also has the descent. Where, yeah. So that's just how I feel about it. Cause it's, if I could do all my training on the treadmill, I would.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, you are a treadmill ambassador. I can't imagine Nordic Track or one of these other companies that you're like the face. You need to be the face of the treadmill. Put you on the commercial, right? That you're using it, you love it. Don't get me as far away from that commercial. We want Sandra right there, front and center. I love it because one of the themes that I have with some of these guests that's pretty reoccurring is, and we were talking about Andrew before we started recording. Andrew even brought this up as well, and he put it more eloquently. But he said, this whole thing is messy. There's no one size fits all to this, right? Like, you like the treadmill, I go on the trails and find that it works for me. The treadmill works for you. Like, for there's no one size fits all, and for one person to say, write the Bible, so to speak, and say this is how you do training. No way, Jose. Throw that out the window. It's messy for everybody. It's difficult to even get it done. So if you found something that makes your life easier to train, that's awesome. I mean, that's totally great.
Yeah.
Some people find it with like a running club or a group or a friend or running. But if you could pack all that in on the treadmill and get all that done, that's the way to do it. And I just love to hear that because I create so many excuses. So I know other humans do too. I create tons of excuses of reasons I can't do something, you know, but maybe if I love the treadmill a little bit more, I'd have a lot less excuses. Like it's hot
Running,
outside, so what?
yeah,
It's you're inside, it's cold outside. So what? You have a treadmill. All these different, human excuses we have, at least me, that come up in my mind. But
I think you're not alone. And I think that running is definitely not a one size fits all. Just like one person can like high heel drop, another person cannot run
mm,
in high heel drops. So one person likes gels, one person likes solid food. It's definitely just not a one size fits all. And in order to have longevity in this sport and have longevity in running for the remainder of your life, you have to find the things that work for you and trick your mind into saying that, if I continue to do it this way, I'm going to enjoy it longer.
hmm yeah. That's a great point because I've had a few people, not a ton, but I've had a few people, reach out to me that I've just met over the years. And like, hey, I'd love to get into running. What kind of shoes should I get? Or I had a guy reach out to me. He's like, what kind of shorts should I get? I'm here at the running store. It's like that is so unique to the person. There's no way that maybe some advice I'd give you about something I tried might overlap in some way, but shoes, clothes, gels, solid foods, treadmill, no treadmill, like it's so unique to the person that to say that there is the one thing that works. Maybe I'd say this. The only thing I can think of that's common is consistency. That's the only thing I can think of that it trumps it all. It's what works for everybody. But to say like, oh, you gotta wear running sandals, or you gotta wear the zero drops, you gotta wear the Brooks 18 millimeter. It's like go try on the shoes, go find a good running shoe company that lets you wear them for 30 days or whatever the thing is. Some are 90, some are 30, and try them out and take them back if you don't feel comfortable. Find exactly what works for you. It's funny, I took my daughters to the running store, and it was all about what was cute, and I was trying to help them understand. Maybe find one that fits right and is comfortable and then is cute versus one that's just cute. But
That's right. Yeah. It's so hard to give advice on this type of stuff because you'll end up disappointing somebody or making a wrong decision for them. Whereas it's better if you let people try themselves. And sometimes that takes years. The shoes that I started in when I started running are definitely not the shoes that I'm running in today. And yeah, it is definitely keep trying until you find the secret formula for yourself. And that's why running is a long game. It is not a
mm-hmm.
short game. It is not an overnight win. It's more than a marathon. You know how they say life is a marathon? No, life is an ultra marathon.
Yeah, life is one of those many multi-day events back to back all together.
Yeah,
No
life is
breaks.
a Cocodona 250 or a Monster 300.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your experience at. And side note, $75 for 4 races. That's a steal, but totally a steal. I'd love to hear more about the racing because it sounds like you had such an amazing experience of those first 4 races. And I know that you haven't just done 4. So I'd love to hear more about some of the different events you've done, after you did the MAC race series.
So 2018, finished off really nicely with a bunch of races to get me going. And then as I continued to spend time on Instagram and filling my feed with as many runners that I could follow, I started to notice this one word that kept popping up every now and then, and that was called a streak. So in January 1st, 2019, I started my 5 kilometer daily streak and haven't stopped. And so if you are a runner and maybe, those folks who are listening can attest to this, sometimes in runners, there is some addictive behavior, or we tend to not be people who are not compulsive and not have an addictive personality, like just a little bit.
Yep.
And also, I feel like a lot of runners tend to be creatures of habit. So if you start one thing, then you continue to keep doing that thing, which is why you continue, let's say, to run on the same trail, to run on the same path, to run the same distance. And so with the start of that 5K streak that started in 2019, I signed up for even more races in 2019. And in 2019, I ended up doing a 50-kilometer trail race that I won an entry into.
Wow.
So if you don't want to run a 50K, don't put your name into a draw because you might win it.
And then you
And
have to
then
do it.
and then you have to do it. But I'll say that 50-kilometer trail race that took me 11 hours and had 5,000 feet of elevation gain um, truly did something to me. It transcended me. It was honestly an incredible experience. And I knew after that this was something that was going to become my whole personality. And it did. And it
Well,
did.
but you know how great is it that something you find so much joy in is a major part of your personality.
Mm,
You know, I think sometimes I've run into people that make like things they don't like a part of their personality. They're kind of complaining a lot about something. How exciting is it that you're making something that gives you so much joy a huge part of your personality? That's great.
yeah. Yeah. And maybe some won't agree with us, but they're not part of our club. So
They're not in the cult.
they're not in the cult. Yeah, so 2019 was a big year with so many races, and I even did a Olympic distance triathlon. I threw that in the mix too.
Oh, fun.
Um, and so yeah, a bunch of races, the 50K, the triathlon, and then of course we know what happened with 2020 because in 2020 I had even more races that I had signed up for, and they all got canceled. So from 2020 to 2022. There weren't really any races. I did the marathon at home because I couldn't travel, and did those two locally. And then finally in 2023, things kind of returned to normal. And in 2024, I did two 100-kilometer distance races. One was in Utah in Zion, and the other one
Hmm.
was Javelina 100. Um, and yeah, and then last year I DNF'd my first 100-mile race. And I've signed up again, and I'm going back again this year for the 100-mile buckle. Yeah.
Yes. You're,
Yeah.
I, Andrew, when I was visiting with him after we recorded, he was mentioning that you were coming, you were going to do Javelina. I'm so excited for you. Javelina, I think, is probably one of the best races because there's so many people and the energy is so high. Like road marathons have so many people, spectators, participants. There's just a ton of people out there, and you can find some of these ultra races. It's pretty cool. It's kind of small and kind of feels like homegrown. But Javelina is the opposite of that. It is just big. It's a party, and I think what better place to, have a low point in a race because there's so much energy. You're
Yeah.
going to come back into transition and it's like, how could you not feel excited coming into the transition of Javelina? I mean, just the energy is so high there. But I'd love to hear, your take on Javelina. It's also, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a tricky race because it can be very warm. That's where I live. I live in Arizona, just really
Mhm.
close to Javelina actually. So I know it can be very warm, and it's obviously at night. And I've talked to a lot of guests that were really worried about the desert at night. Maybe I just grew up here, so it's just normal, obviously. But I'd love to
Oh,
hear your take on it.
yeah. So my take on it is that if somebody wants to do a ultra, either 100K or 100-mile, I would highly recommend Javelina because it's a loop system. The elevation is not high, And that's why a lot of golden ticket Western statesers will easily kind of get their golden ticket there because yes, it's hot, but it's hot everywhere. Like last year, Javelina was maybe so 2024 was one of the hottest years that they ever had, and that was the year that I did my first 100K. It was 101 or 2 Fahrenheit. But then last year it was like 95 Fahrenheit, 90-ish, and that was, a couple hours in the day, and then it started to go down. So as long as you have your heat training and you've got the ice bandanas and the ice sleeves, you'll be fine as long as you've been hydrating the week ahead of that race. And each aid station has ice, so you will be fine. As long, I think that if anybody wants to try their first hand at an ultra, I highly recommend that race. It has like the 3 aid stations within that 20-mile loop, and then of course you have home base. So that's basically 4 aid stations. And the elevation is not crazy. Yeah, sure, it's hot. But you know what? I feel like I'll take heat over 2,000 feet of elevation gain or 5,000 feet of elevation gain, like some of these other trail races any day. Like, yeah, that's just how I feel about Javelina.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's such obviously there's a huge draw for it because it's sells out every year. It's a lottery system. It's packed. It's just a great environment. I mean, to me, it expresses the ultra community like visually. You go there and you see it in practice. Everybody's together. Everyone's having a great time. Maybe there's drama. I've never heard of any, but whatever. It's always everybody is just like I said. The energy is so high. Great points. It's a loop course. It does get a little tricky on those out and backs, right? Because you're like, oh, I gotta do my drop bags ever so often, and I've made drop bag mistakes just like everybody else. But if you got that loop course, you're always going back to your home base. Your car's kind of far away actually because it's parked. But anyway, you have your home base tent, and you're set up to go. It's a great. I agree with you. So Javelina, and then another good first 100-miler is Coldwater. The only downside to Coldwater is it's colder. Maybe if you're not in Arizona, it's probably not cold for you. But for us, it's cold in January. But it's also loop course. I always kind of joke that it's Javelina's redheaded stepbrother because the energy is not as high. There's not hardly any people out there, but it's a great course and it's looped. And it's air Vipa, so all the aid stations are fantastic. The volunteers are fantastic. But yeah, Javelina, definitely a race. And then if you can't get into Javelina, Coldwater is a really good option as well. But Javelina, definitely agree with you 100%. It should be your, if you want to have a good first 100, that's a great place to find it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want that first 100-mile buckle or 100K buckle. I think that's the one. 20 miles for each loop is long enough, but it's short enough that you don't feel like I tried a backyard ultra or that one of those like 4-mile loop kind of races. Mm-hmm. I thought I was going to blow my yes. Because your mind is playing tricks on you. And when you think about 5 loops for the 100-mile or 3 loops for 100K, that's not a lot. Like you can wrap your head around that. So yeah, and it's not pavement, it's soft. The only thing is like the dust, you do end up getting a bit of that a desert cough, but it goes away within a couple of days. And there's probably some good minerals in that dust that, would benefit us in some way. Like some magnesium might be in there. I don't know. But yeah, definitely. And also, if you don't get your name into the 100-mile race, there's the Jackass Junction 36-kilometer or 37-kilometer race that they have. So within the Javelina, they have 3 races, the 100K, the 100-mile, and then the Jackass Junction night race, which starts at Jackass Junction aid station. And I believe it's 36K.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah,
Yeah, I, I, I I've said this before, but I think sometimes some people are like me, and I agree with you, where we're runners and ultra people are kind of like an addictive personality, and we get so hyper focused. I'm definitely that way. I had this really ridiculous trajectory in the sport where it was like I didn't even start out. I just wanted to start out with these bigger races, which is not. I looking back, I wish I would have done it differently. The 36K or 36 miles, and just worked my way up because I think there's so much to enjoy at every distance. Like I've done longer distances, but I've gone back and done shorter ones, and I've had so much fun. Like I wish I would have started there and got like a more of a firm base and firm foundation where I could enjoy all those distances up into the larger ones, because I think you learn a lot. It's a lot of practice that I didn't have. I jumped right into an 88K. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I was drinking pickle juice and taking salt pills too much, and I had no idea what I was doing. We don't need to go into that story. But what if I would have started out with shorter races? I probably would have learned all those things and had a better foundation. So these larger races, or longer ones, excuse me, probably would have turned out better. So I encourage people, absolutely, do the 36K, the 36 miles, the half marathon, do the fun night runs, because you really learn a lot, and you really to get to do those longer ones, and you can attest to this, right? The 100Ks, the 100 milers, the multi-day stuff. There is so much to learn to get to that place that, it's probably a lot easier to do it than to just do it on the fly. I'll just say that.
absolutely. And like I said before, I honestly believe this is a long game, and even the people who are professionals in this arena are still learning. There are professionals still DNFing, like Killian just DNF'd Western States. I mean, what happened? Who knows? I'm sure there was a good reason, but it just goes to show that this is a long game. This is not a one size fits all. It's not this race is the main race. It's continuing to show up, continuing to DNF, continuing to make mistakes and learn from them, and then just get back on that start line again.
Yeah. That's a great point, because I know on my first DNF, I really took it hard. I really did. It was really kind of one of those things that maybe I made running too much of like my persona. I mean, I wasn't doing a podcast back then, but maybe I thought of, it was more than my personality, and I kind of took it personally when I did a DNF, and, I don't know. Maybe a psychologist could help me figure it out, but I really took it hard. But then you look at these, even professionals or really, really fast men and women, they DNF. I mean, you take a guy like Cameron Haynes, love him or hate him, he goes out to Cocodona, trips, and gets a concussion. Like, things happen, right? You go and twist your ankle, you fall. What was that gal's name at Javelina? Was it Javelina, where she fell and that picture of her with the whole side of her arm was in cactuses?
Cactus Lady. The Cactus Lady. She's on YouTube.
What was her name?
I don't know, but she's known as the Cactus Lady.
Yeah,
so,
like that's...
Yeah.
Stuff happens. I mean, you're out in nature, right? Stuff happens. So I would just encourage anybody, use the DNF to learn, and just don't let it ruin your life. Sandra, I love what you've said about the long game, because there is no short game here. This is all... We are looking way in the future with this, and the DNFs is all a part of that. The failures, I'm sure you've done this just like I have. You go out for a real long run you were looking forward to, and it sucks, and nothing's working. You don't feel good. You're just out of rhythm. Whatever it is, you didn't sleep good. I don't know, whatever it was, and it's just like, golly, this is no fun. And then you do it the next day or a couple of days later, you're like, this is the best run of my life. This is definitely not a moment thing. This is something that you use those moments to project you into the future and for the long game.
Yeah, and you just talked about how one day a run could suck, the next day it could be good. And I just did a reel on that, actually, and it's called The Rule of Thirds. So Alexi Pappas, the Olympian, who represented the United States a while ago. I can't remember how many years ago, but she's an Olympian marathoner. And her coach told her about the rule of thirds. 1/3 it's going to suck, 1/3 it's going to be okay, and 1/3 it's going to be amazing. And yeah, and isn't that the truth?
That's the truth. That is a wise thing to say. Yeah, because I think that is very accurate. I can say that you have those small seasons, those thirds where, and maybe it's a couple days where you're like, you don't even want to do it.
Oh yeah.
And you just do it and you get it done. Maybe it's slower. I've had those days where I'm like, I'm going to do an elevation today just so I could kind of walk faster and not have to, but you still go out there, like you said, time on feet. We're looking for the long game. And then you have those thirds, like you said, where it's like, this is okay. And then the other third where it's just amazing. I love that. That's awesome. I'm going to have to look that up and watch that.
Yeah.
Was it on a podcast?
Yes, it was. Yeah, just look up Alexi Pappas.
Okay.
So she was on Rich Roll's podcast and all of the
awesome.
Yeah, and I think she was even on Cameron Haynes's podcast. But if you look up the rule of thirds, Alexi Pappas, you will see and hear that. And her coach had told her this when she was in training for the Olympics, and it stuck with me because, like, if you're looking at the scope of a whole week or even a whole month of training and you're building, yeah, of course, your legs are going to be trashed. How can each run be better than the next when you're, doing, my coach has me doing David Roche's mountain legs exercise, which is just absolute bullshit. But yeah. And
I love it.
It
sounds exciting.
Yeah, no, just look up mountain legs David Roche and and he has me doing that before a run, so if your legs feel like absolute jello. And so how can a run be good during that run, right? But I know that those mountain legs that I'm doing this week are going to benefit me 3 weeks from now. So you have to wait 3 weeks in order to feel good from what you did 3 weeks ago. Right?
So
and
true.
like, why does taper matter? And taper tantrums, you have your highest week build and then you have to taper from there and you're itching to run as your mileage is going down, but you know that your body is doing the work and it's doing the work while you're resting. So yeah, that's why the rule of thirds matters so much. It's so true, right?
Yeah, I've heard it said in a different way. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was talking about it. And he wasn't talking about running specifically. He was talking about just health and fitness in general. He was saying it's like investing for the future, right? Like
compounding
your retirement or whatever. Yeah. You don't invest, I don't put money into my retirement fund and go check it the next day. It's not going to move. Let's be honest, I don't have that much money where it would move that fast. So it's not going to move that fast. But you go check it, a few months, a couple of years down the road, hey, it's gotten bigger. It's the same thing with fitness. What you look like today is the investments that you made in the past that's led you to where you are today. I love that. I mean, it's so true. But I don't know about you, but as humans, I think, at least maybe just me, I just get so impatient, and you're like, I did the mountain legs workout. Why am I not, running up Mount Everest tomorrow? It's like you gotta invest in that for down the road, for, like you said, the long game.
Yeah, I guess I do feel very patient with myself because when you come from when your starting point is the size of body that I'm in at 250 pounds actually I weighed myself this morning. I can't call myself a 250 pound runner anymore because I'm 245. I'm like, how am I now I have to change everything. But either way, like, I guess when you come from where my starting point is and I'm achieving what I'm achieving, I have the utmost patience with myself because it's even a miracle that I'm doing what I'm doing in the body that I have, and that it's so strong. And so maybe my advantage is that I have that perspective, whereas, like, let's say people who are in smaller bodies automatically expect more of themselves because they are in smaller bodies. And so they have less patience with themselves. And so, I've never looked at it that way. I've always been quite patient with myself. And I thought, oh, my average minute mile is, 12 and a half to 13 and a half if I'm just cruising. And the thing with women, especially the women in our 50s, I'm 51, is that I won't ever let myself run at a heart rate above 140. It's just not going to happen. I don't want my cortisol to increase. So I deliberately run slow. So I guess when you come from those starting points, you're never mad at yourself, or you're never impatient with yourself, because you've already taken certain things off the chopping block. Speed. I'm not going for speed. I'm not going for time. I'm not going for a place on the podium. So everything else is just a bonus.
Right.
That's why it's great to be a perimenopausal woman.
the side effect, the benefits and side effects, I guess. I've never thought about that, but that's definitely, there's some truth to it, I'm sure, because you hear so many impatient people in the fitness space where it's like, oh man, I've been at this and my VO2 max hasn't gone up, or whatever it is. You hear these kind of things all the time, or my 5K pace or something. It's like, I'm kind of like you in the sense where I'm really not focused on my pace unless it's like a specific workout, right? Like a coach says you're doing, 5x5s at this pace, something like that. Like if I'm just going out on the trails, I don't even look at my watch and I'm like, oh, it's 12:30 pace. I'm just going by feel. If anything, I look at heart rate for me to try and make sure I'm staying in zone 2 or close to zone 2. And obviously that changes if I'm going up a hill or something like that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think, at least from my perspective, the people that I've heard talk a lot about pace and I've got to do this section this fast, and this is my assumption, so I'm not saying this is true, but it sounds like they're not having as much fun as I'm having.
I think I agree with you.
Would I love to get first place in a race? That sounds kind of cool, but I also talk to people at the back of the pack, and we all sound like we're having a great time. We're having a great conversation right now. We're all having fun. So if that's your goal, David Goggins is probably going, oh, you're such a wimp, but I don't care. I'm out there to have a good time, to meet people, and to really just experience the event. And I think that's maybe where I differ from other racers or people that are out there to do it. Maybe they're trying to get a better time than they did at that last course, or they are trying to get a better time on a certain section. And that's awesome too. And like you said, this kind of goes back to this whole idea of like training on a treadmill, gels, types of shoes. This is everybody's journey and everybody's adventure. And so if you're out there to see how long you can be in zone 5 heart rate, that's awesome. Kudos to you and good job. But not for me. I want to see how long I can stay in zone 2 and and see if my fitness gets better in that zone, and I know I'm getting better for like the longer events. I don't know. I just think that's one thing I like about the ultra community is we're all so open. Where if you get into like the marathon community or some of these other different racing or exercise communities, people get so crazy about these like split times and all this stuff, and if that's your bag, that's totally cool. I have no problem with that. But like in the ultra community, you tell me I did the Javelina 100. I didn't ask you what you did it in. It's like, but if I said I did Boston Marathon to another marathon, and I'd say, well, how fast did you do it? It's very different, those little nuances. But I think that's what makes the ultra community so open and inviting is, you're a trail person, Sandra? Cool. Let's go do it together. Yeah. Andrew's doing Javelina too. Let's all get together and go and hang out. Like it's just a very different vibe than any other community I've ever been a part of, and I love it. So I don't know. I just kind of went on a little rant, so I'm sorry.
No,
we
it's
went
all
off
good.
topic, but That's how I feel about that.
I couldn't agree more. And I feel like, especially back of the Packers, you definitely get your money's worth. You're on the scenic drive. You get your money's worth.
Yeah.
You're enjoying the scenery versus I would hate to finish a race in, less than an hour and you're not getting all your money's worth.
Yeah. Like what was the gal Rachel who won Cocodona this year, which amazing.
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend how fast she did it. But it's like, did she get her money's worth, or did the guy or the gal at the back of the pack who had 12 hamburgers and all the food, and
Right.
they got their money's worth. They got to sleep stations and all that. They got to take advantage of the whole enchilada versus
if I ever did Cocodona or oh my god, what the hell is it called? The 241
Moab
240. I would want to be the last person. Now, how do I become the last person? I want to be cheered coming in. I want to come in at what's the cutoff? 110 hours. I want to come in at 109.58. And if there's somebody behind me, I'm going to slow down to make sure that I let them go first. I want that
I love it.
last person reward.
Yeah, and what a fun. I saw a guy. I don't think he's a runner in the ultra space, but he did this little Instagram video. He's like, "Hey, ultra runners, how come you never told us you guys gave each other an award for the last place person? How cool is that?" And it was just so neat to see someone who was kind of outside the ultra community see it for what it's worth, because that is, to me, that is like the ultimate award. Like, I had the pleasure of interviewing the people who have taken last place at the inaugural year of the Monster, and then this last time, and it is so amazing to hear their stories. The inaugural year, Carolyn Garriott was the one who did it, and I think she told me she was out there for 7 days. Almost, was it 7 days? Carolyn, I apologize if I got that wrong, but something like that. How crazy is that?
Yeah. It's basically like a walking vacation. Like, how you're like, okay, you go to your work, you're at your work and you're like, okay, I need to take 7 days off. And they're like, where are you going? Well, I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just going to keep walking for 7 days. Yeah. I might get a nap here and there in a tent on a cot, maybe on the grass. And then your workplace people are confused because you just asked for vacation, but you're not really going anywhere. And but to us, that seems like so much fun.
Yeah, it reminds me on Crocodile Dundee when he's like, then at the very end he says, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going to go on a walkabout." It's like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on a walkabout. I'm just going to go start at this one place, and I'm going to do my best to end at this other place. I did want to ask you, though, having done the Javelina, and you had the DNF at Javelina for the 100-miler, and then going back, what's something you're going to try and do differently, or how are you looking at this race this time versus how you did it last time?
So the night before last year's Javelina, I had an emotional breakdown. And not the night before, it was the day before. And even, so I actually made a documentary about my Javelina experience. Yeah. Really? It's on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel and it's...
Oh, I'll share it out. That's awesome.
That's and incredible. I had David Clayton, who works for Mountain Post, filmed the documentary for me. And there was this part where I'm sitting in the chair and, they do like the interview part, and I couldn't stop crying. And the reason I was crying was because as a mom, there was this like overwhelming feeling of selfishness that came over me where I thought, and this was maybe just my own thoughts that I put into my head, where I thought, oh my God, I'm so selfish. What if something happens to me out there? What if I die on the race course? And it's all because I wanted a stupid 100-mile buckle. And that really got me into my head. That was one thing. And then even the morning of the race, I was just like, my chest was just, I was hyperventilating and panicking a little bit because this wasn't 100 kilometers. This was 100 miles, 160
Right.
kilometers. And no matter how we've normalized ultra running, it's still a very long distance. And also, the mistake I made that morning was I put on brand new Smartwool socks, which is a big mistake. I also put on squirrel's nut butter that I had never used before on my feet with the socks on. And I started sliding in my shoes. And I could feel, even when I got dropped off before my pacer parked the car and I'm walking to the tent, I could feel my feet getting hot. And it was only 6 a.m. So there were those things, those couple of things that had happened. And very early on within the first loop, I started developing quite a few hot spots. And by loop 3, I knew exactly. The race course is 30-hour time limit. I knew exactly how many hours each loop had to be finished in if I were to make the 30 hours. By loop 3, I was 1 hour and 20 minutes over, which means that loop 4 and 5 I would have to come in at 4.5 hours, and I just can't do that. So I knew when I came in after loop 3 that was it. If I could have gone on for loop 4, they wouldn't have pulled me off the race course for loop 4. But then after loop 4, because they know your average pace and they're actually clocking when your expected finish time will be, I knew they would have pulled me off. And I thought, by then I had so many blisters on the back of my heel. And Christian, what's funny is this race changed my gait. This race
Really?
changed my gait. I was a heel striker before I was, yes. And so because of this race, that's why I'm so grateful I DNF'd. That's why I'm so grateful all of this happened. I developed such bad blisters on the back of my heels that were about a week and a half to 2 weeks after I was running on my forefoot. And that's where I developed a new gait.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Huh.
I'll never be upset about this DNF. I know that I needed to DNF this, that it needed to happen that way in order for me to come back. And also what got me through that race was I was checking my last year's time I was checking my 2024's time and comparing it to my 2025's time and knew that I had come in 4 hours better at the 100-kilometer distance in 2025 than I did in 2024. How could I be mad about that?
Right.
So in 2024, I finished the 100K in 23 hours and 20 minutes. And in 2025, I finished the 100 kilometers, so 3 loops, in 19 hours and 23 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's a big PR.
It's a big PR. And so,
Holy cow.
yeah. And so I am, so grateful that all of that happened the way that it did. And, even with the stupid blisters, but the blisters forced me to run on my tippy toes, which changed my gait, which has actually made me a better runner now and increased my, what's that called?
Cadence.
Thank you. Yeah. It increased my cadence.
Wow. Well, I love your perspective. I'm sure you felt down about it, but I love how positive you are about it, because I think that's what people need to do, is they need to look at those experiences like you have and see all the good that's come out of it, what you've learned, what you're taking into the next race that you learned in that race. Did it change your gait? That's incredible. I've never heard that before. That's so awesome. And I'm so excited for you. I just can't wait to see, you out there. I know Andrew's going to be there as well. I'm going to go out there and just see people. Going to go hang out. I'm not competing this year, but I'm going to go out and I'm just so excited for you guys. I can't wait to see you guys out there. And what a special thing, you're going to go back, and I think you're going to do amazing. Heck, you that big of a PR. I mean, you're taking these huge strides, Sandra. And I think it's so great, and the fact that you're so open about it on social media, you're helping so many people. You know, maybe they're not messaging you, but I can tell you, you know, I've watched your videos and I've felt inspired, and so I know that you're doing that for other people. So I just want to tell you thank you for that, and just keep doing it because you really are an inspiration for people. You know, I think this sport has so much translation into life, and so I can't imagine you're not helping people with, you know, other aspects of their life as well. But I do want to thank you for jumping on. I know, you know, you've been so generous with your time.
Thank you.
But before we wrap up, I like to give my guests the last word. So if you want to give a shout out to somebody, if you want to sell a book, if you want to, if whatever you want to do, share a mantra with somebody. Share a mantra that you have about life. The time is now yours. You know, so you can close us out and kind of give us the last word.
Thank you so much for, you know, even just that last word opportunity. All I want people to know is that the size of your body does not determine your worth, and it does not determine your abilities. And running has gifted me so many things, but one of the biggest things it's gifted me is the ability to truly believe that, like, I can do anything. And 3 years into my running journey, one of the things that really pissed me off all the time was not seeing women that looked like me in Runner's World magazine or any running magazine. And because I had been running for 3 years, increasing my self-worth, my perspective of myself, I created my own magazine called Run Your Life magazine. And I purposely did that because I didn't see it exist. And I've now published 6 issues. And the stories in these magazines are regular women with regular bodies running or doing triathlons or even going through cancer and still continuing to show up for themselves and doing, you know, the desert race series. And so that's one of the things that I'm so proud of that running brought me to. And that's why when, you know, whenever somebody feels inspired by me, I always like to tell them, only think about today. Worry about showing up for today. Don't plan for tomorrow. Don't plan from 1 year out, because today builds tomorrow. So if you're not focused on today, you're not going to be focused on tomorrow. Today builds tomorrow. And so that is my advice to anybody, is just worry about what you can do right now. Put your shoes on, lace up, open the door, and see where your legs take you. And so if anybody's interested in my magazine, you know, I'm sure you'll link it, or my YouTube channel where
Absolutely.
I post my weekly mileage and my weekly training. And, yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity, Christian. And I hope I see you at Javelina with Andrew.
I will definitely be out there. And Sandra, no, thank you. This has been so great. I feel so fortunate to be able to share all these stories. I mean, I gained so much from doing this. It's kind of a selfish endeavor, a little side selfish endeavor. I get so much out of it. It's so encouraging. I talk to so many amazing humans that are just such great people like yourself. And absolutely, I'll link all this in the podcast and all on Instagram, because I think that's what we need to do. Is we need to normalize the sport and humanize it and make it less scary for people. And that's one of my missions with this, is to make it more humanized, because it is scary. Marathon is scary. 50K is scary. 100K is scary. 200, like, all this is scary stuff for people. But if we can help humanize it, the power that you get from doing these races, for training these races, let's bring more people in. Let's open the tent up for more people, because at least it's the great that's done for me. I'd love to share it with others. I think you're the same way.
100%. I couldn't agree more, and I wish everybody would run. It would just solve a lot of the world's problems.
Yeah, less fighting, more running. I love it. Let's do it. Sandra, again, thank you so much for jumping on. Another way to say thank you is I send my guests a gift from Death March Running Company. So we'll connect offline, and I'll get your a good shipping address, and I'll get that sent out to you. That's
Thank
just a
you
way to
so
say thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
You've been amazing, scheduling and getting everything together, and we've. I'm so
Sorry
glad
about
that
the
we've.
scheduling.
No. I've had
And
far
you know
more
what?
scheduling conflicts with other guests.
And
It's
you know
usually
what?
on my end.
And you know what? After Javelina, let's do this again because that'll be
Yes.
another conversation.
Yes. Oh, you know what we should do? Let's
I
try
love
and get
Javelina.
Andrew and do a Javelina, a post Javelina. I love it. You got good ideas. I love it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Have a great rest of your
You too.
weekend.
Thank you.
And, thank you so much for doing this again.
You betcha. We'll be in touch. Have a great
Take
weekend.
care.
Okay. Bye, Christian.